All right. Well, welcome to the December Lunch and Learn with NAMI Johnson County. Phil was unable to join us today, so I am going to talk a little bit about peer-to-peer. It's one of our NAMI signature programs, and as you can see from your screen, the peer-to-peer class will be starting on January 15th via Zoom. One of the requirements is that people do need to register for this class. And so there is a QR code there, but also people are free to reach out to me. I guess I should introduce myself. I'm Mary Issa. I'm the Executive Director of NAMI Johnson County. So a little bit about peer-to-peer. Peer-to-peer is an 8-week a free program, educational program for adults living with a mental health condition, and they're looking to understand themselves and the recovery process. The peer-to-peer class is taught by trained leaders with lived experience. This program includes activities, discussions, and informative videos. However, with all NAMI programs, it does not include recommendations for treatment approaches. So what will you gain from taking this class? The peer-to-peer class is a safe, judgment-free space, which we're offering on Zoom during the winter months, so you don't have to leave your home and go out on the cold winter evening. This class provides mutual support and growth. People will experience compassion and understanding from people who can relate to your experience. Peer-to-peer helps people set a vision and goals for the future, partner with healthcare providers, develop confidence in decision-making, practice relaxation and stress-reducing tools, learn to share your story, strengthen relationships, enhance communication skills, and learn about the mental health treatment options in your community. So please, if you're able to register, we'll contact you. If you know of others you can reach who would be interested in taking this course, reach out to us and I'd be happy to send them more information. So I'm going to talk about another class that we're going to be offering. Okay, now you should be seeing about the family to family class, which is also going to be starting that same week. But with family to family, it is going to be in person at our NAMI admin office located at 1531 South Gilbert Street, which is just south of the Gilbert Street Hills Bank. This is also a free 8-week educational program, but it is based for the family members, significant others, and friends of people living with mental health conditions. It is an evidence-based program, which means that research has been shown that the program significantly impacts coping and problem-solving abilities for people closest to the person with a mental health condition. The NAMI Family to Family class is taught by NAMI trained family members who have been there. And in this class also includes presentations, discussions, and interactive exercises. What this class does is it helps provide information and strategies for taking care of a person you love, but you'll also find out that you are not alone. Recovery is a journey and there is hope. What happens during that time in the class? You learn how to solve problems and communicate effectively. Learn to take care of yourself and manage your stress. Support your loved one with compassion. Find and use local supports and services. Get up-to-date information on mental health conditions and how they affect the brain. Learn how to handle a crisis. Learn about current treatments and therapies and impact mental health conditions for the entire family. This is also registration with the QR code, or you can reach out to me if you know of family members that are looking to build their support network. And then I have a couple more things I want to share with you. If you're a NAMI member, you'll be getting this in your mailbox, or if you've been a walk donor, but otherwise we'll be emailing this out. Look for your mailbox for the year-end newsletter. More information about our upcoming classes, updates on what we're doing in the community and things happening at our place, and a QR code for our upcoming mental health first aid classes. And one more thing I want to share is about our 2025 walk. So as we're ringing in the new year, be thinking about participating in our NAMI walk. Get that on your calendar so you don't miss it. It will be Saturday, May 10th at Terry Trueblood Recreation Area. Be out around the lake for the walk, and we hope it's a week later into May this year, and we hope for really good weather. We've always been impacted by rain, and so hopefully we'll have lots of sunshine this year. So I am going to send this over to Bella now to start the presentation on mental health first aid. Thank you, Bella.
Thank you, Mary. So my name is Bella Vondracek. I work with NAMI Johnson County as an AmeriCorps Vista, and my position is to facilitate adult mental health first aid trainings. So I am certified in the adult mental health first aid, meaning that the trainings that I facilitate and this presentation will focus on interventions for adult populations aged 18 and older. There are other trainings such as youth and teen mental health first aid, but the trainings that I facilitate through NAMI focus solely on adult populations. So our agenda for today, we're going to be going over first, what is mental health first aid, potential audiences that may benefit from mental health first aid, and mental health challenge background and training. We're going to look over some of the objectives of the mental health first aid training, some of the content that you would encounter if you do choose to register, which I hope you all do. Then we're going to go over how to register for the classes that I'm holding from January through May, and what to expect the day or days of training. So first, to begin, we're going to start with what is mental health first aid. So mental health first aid is an evidence-based training that teaches participants how to identify, understand, and respond to someone who is experiencing a mental health or substance use challenge. To clarify, when we say mental health or substance use challenge, we use the word challenge as kind of an umbrella term. Some people may have an official diagnosis from a psychiatrist, psychologist, or any other medical professional for a specific mental health disorder, and some people may not be able or willing to receive this official diagnosis. This can be for a variety of reasons. We call these reasons barriers to care. The four main barriers to care that we focus on are cost, stigma, logistics, and awareness. So when we talk about cost, this could be out-of-pocket costs, this could be problems with insurance, socioeconomic status, or any other barriers financially or economically that would limit someone from being able to seek care or treatment. When we talk about stigma, this refers to the negative attitudes that are held towards individuals who experience mental health or substance use challenges. When we talk about logistics, this can refer to transportation, location, distance, availability of providers, anything like that. And finally, awareness refers to some people may not be aware of the resources available within their community, so they may not have knowledge of where to turn to for help. And so we as mental health first aiders can help them. On that note, what is a mental health first aider? This is a term that is used throughout the mental health first aid training and throughout this presentation. So to clarify, a mental health first aider is a person who has successfully completed a mental health first aid training. First aiders have empathy for people living with mental illness and substance use problems. Their increased mental health literacy enables them to identify risk factors and warning signs for mental health and substance use challenges, gives them the confidence to provide strategies to help someone in crisis and non-crisis situations, and gives them the knowledge of where to turn to for help. So as a mental health first aider, throughout the training, we reiterate as it's extremely important to know what this training will and will not prepare you for in terms of approaching a situation where someone may be experiencing a mental health challenge. So we're going to be going over the role of the mental health first aider later. But now that we have those definitions, we're going to look at some potential audiences that may benefit from mental health first aid training. So as you can see here, we have a wide range of interpersonal and professional positions. We have primary care professionals, first responders, higher education and school staff and faculty, law enforcement, nursing home staff, veterans, faith communities, and we have parents, family, and friends. Now, the reason why this is such a broad list of individuals is because mental health challenges are extremely common, meaning that taking a mental health first aid training may benefit you in your professional position. It might also benefit you in your personal positions. It's likely that we've experienced either with ourselves, with our family, or within our general community, we've had experiences with mental health challenges. And so being able to recognize the signs and symptoms that may indicate that someone's experiencing a mental health challenge can be extremely beneficial in all activities day to day. Looking over some of the objectives of the training, mental health first aid, first you will learn how to recognize signs and symptoms that may indicate a mental health challenge. So when we talk about signs and symptoms, signs refer to what we can visually recognize within someone. So this would be someone's behavior or someone's appearance that would indicate to us that they may be experiencing a mental health challenge. Whereas symptoms are not things that we can explicitly see. Instead, we can infer them through people's speech, behavioral patterns, and differences in mood and affect. And these symptoms can also work with behaviors and appearances to help us recognize that someone may be experiencing a mental health challenge. We learn how to listen non-judgmentally and give reassurance. So listening requires focused effort, and approaching something non-judgmentally requires us to recognize our own biases and put them aside, which can be extremely difficult. And in the step of listening non-judgmentally, we're asking you to do both. So we go over some strategies, some verbal and nonverbal strategies of how to approach situations that would indicate to a person who's disclosing their experiences to you that you are listening non-judgmentally and coming at the situation from a space of neutrality, which can be extremely beneficial. And additionally, when we talk about giving reassurance, we focus on the training, the difference between reassurance and advice. Sometimes when someone is experiencing a mental health challenge, advice can seem dismissive or invalidating. And so we learn how to adjust our own language to be more inclusive and more sensitive to someone who may be experiencing a challenge. We recognize when and how to refer someone to professional and other support services. So we talk about the importance of self-help strategies, and we brainstorm as a full group some people, programs, and activities within our community that may be beneficial to refer someone to or give someone information on that could help them in their specific situation. We learn how to apply the ALGE action plan to early, worsening, and crisis situations. The ALGE action plan is the mental health first aid plan that the training is largely based on. We're going to be going over the specifics of that here in a couple slides. But for now, when we talk about early, worsening, and crisis situations, We look at these three categories because mental health first aid is most effective as an early intervention strategy, meaning that the earlier that you can perform mental health first aid, the more likely that a positive outcome is. That's not to say that if someone is experiencing worsening or crisis signs and symptoms, that recovery is not possible. It absolutely is, regardless of what step or how far a challenge has progressed. Recovery in most cases is very possible. However, the earlier we can catch it, the less likely these challenges are to continue to develop and build off of it and build off of itself into a situation that could be mitigated the earlier you recognize these challenges. And finally, the last training objective is to understand the role of a mental health first aider. If you do take a training, which, like I said, I hope you all do, you will hear time and time again the role of a mental health first aider. And that's because it is extremely important to understand what the training does and does not prepare you for, which is what we're going to go over next. So the role of a mental health first aider. Mental health first aiders are mental health stigma reducers, caring community members, part of a larger support system, informed helpers, and are resource knowledgeable. When we talk about reducing mental health stigma, like I said previously, the stigma refers to negative attitudes held towards individuals who experience mental health challenges. And in reducing stigma and acting as caring community members, we can reformat our perceptions of mental health and look at it more as a community issue rather than an individual issue. When we categorize mental health challenges as an individual issue, it's very discouraging, and people are more likely to try to deal with mental health challenges on their own, kind of that suffer in silence idea, instead of disclosing to others what they're experiencing and where their emotions lie, which can be extremely beneficial in mitigating some of the challenges that someone may be facing, because it may be short term and it may be long term. Listening to the person disclosing to you is extremely important in understanding their specific situation. So when we talk about part of a larger support system, this means that you're aware of community resources that may be beneficial to the individual. Informed helpers and resource knowledgeable also build on that knowledge of community resources, be it people that you can refer someone to, programs you can refer someone to, or spaces that you may encourage people to visit or occupy. On the other hand, mental health first aiders are not diagnosticians, treatment providers, or long-term care providers. Mental health first aid does not take on a diagnostic lens. What that means is we don't focus on looking at the behavior, appearance, thought patterns, and emotions that someone's expressing and try to fit that into a diagnosis. Even if we have knowledge on diagnoses, and throughout the training, we do go over the 6 most common mental health categories that are diagnosed in adult populations in the United States, but we don't want to take on a diagnostic lens. Instead, we want to think of our role as a mental health first aider as almost a bridge between the individual in need of intervention services and resources that would be beneficial for their specific situation. So we're acting as that source of connection to help people continue on their journey to recovery. Additionally, we're not treatment providers. Just as when you take a physical first aid course, at the end of it, you are not a trained medical professional, surgeon, anything like that. It's the same with mental health first aid. Taking a mental health first aid course does not qualify you as a certified mental health specialist. However, having knowledge of people who are certified and licensed to do that within your community can be extremely beneficial for referrals and acting as that source of support. And finally, when we say mental health first aiders are not long-term care providers, what this means is when you perform mental health first aid, you are not required to continue to act as a source of support for that person. You always have the right to remove yourself from a situation and refer them to someone else. Sometimes we don't have the capacity to act as a source of support for people, and that's perfectly fine. If we are more than welcome to set our own boundaries and stick to them, because we want to make sure that we are taking care of ourselves as best as possible so that we can be providing the best care that we possibly can. Some of the content to the training, we start off the day with a history of mental health first aid, getting to know its origins and how it was and how it moved over to the United States and how it's been developed. The training is full of a lot of challenge by choice activities. What this means is that at any point, if an activity is introduced and you don't feel like you have the capacity to engage in this activity, it is perfectly acceptable and encouraged to take that space for yourself and not participate. Sometimes activities can elicit especially strong emotional responses from us based on what we've watched people go through or what we've gone through ourselves. And it's perfectly okay to excuse yourself from that specific activity. In order to technically pass the in-person training, you need to be present for more than 90% of the general content and 70%, and you need to engage in at least 70% of the group activities, meaning that there is some room for you to set your own boundaries when it comes to specific topics that you may not want to be present for, or activities that you don't want to engage in, and that is perfectly acceptable. If you need any support throughout the training, please absolutely let me know, or if you want me to know anything or feel that you would need any accommodations prior to the training, please email me. My email will be later in this presentation. I can also share it in the chat as well. Next, we do go over common mental health disorders diagnosed within the adult population in the United States. What we do for this is I create sheets to fill out for everyone. We go over depressive disorders, anxiety disorders, post-traumatic stress disorder, bipolar disorders, eating disorders, and substance use disorders. So each group is assigned a category and fills out information looking at risk factors, protective factors, general facts, resources, information like that. And then everyone will have the opportunity to look at the posters that were created by other participants. And then one person from each group will share the findings of that group as we learn about each of those categories. So this is what's called a gallery walk activity. It's one of the larger activities that we participate in throughout the training. It's extremely beneficial for getting a background of some of the commonly diagnosed disorders in the United States, so we can use that to inform our practices as mental health first aiders. Next, we go over recognizing signs and symptoms. So I talked about signs and symptoms being the things that you can visually recognize or infer that may indicate that someone's experiencing a mental health challenge. So we go in depth of how to apply those to early, worsening, and crisis situations, as is our next bullet point. So we look at how someone's behavior, appearances, thought patterns, and emotions may develop as a mental health or substance use challenge persists, and possible ways, conversational strategies, and methods to intervene or express concern at each point. For each of these three categories, we look at specific case videos where we'll discuss as a full group, and then you'll have the opportunity to look at cards within your group and look at how you would apply steps of the ALGE action plan to this specific situation. Finally, we emphasize the importance of self-care for mental health first aiders. The activity associated with this, in one of the first few segments, you have the opportunity as a participant to create what's called a self-care action plan. You can look at people in your life that you may be able to turn to, coworkers, peers, programs, community events or activities that you know that you can engage in that help you foster and maintain a sense of well-being. that will allow you to give the best care that you possibly can while maintaining your own mental well-being. Here we have the actual algae action plan listed. As you can see, action A stands for approach, assess, and assist, or approach and assess for risk of suicide or harm and assist the individual. L is listen non-judgmentally. G is to give reassurance and information. E is to encourage appropriate professional help. And the last E is to encourage self-help and other support strategies. If you notice, the entire action plan is centered around the word assess. This is because the algae action plan is a non-linear plan, meaning that you are not expected to perform mental health first aid according to the steps of algae as they are taught. When I was going through training to become a mental health first aid instructor, one thing that my trainer said that stuck with me and that I like to say in trainings is that sometimes it's algae and sometimes it's eagle, meaning that sometimes you're going to perform the steps exactly as they're listed. Sometimes you're going to jump around a little bit. In some situations, you may not even use every step of this action plan. This is because mental health first aid has the opportunity to be very individualized to fit the needs of the person in their specific context. So when we say assess, one, we want to be constantly assessing the situation, especially if we believe that it has the potential to turn into a crisis situation. And we want to be assessing the needs of the individual to make sure that we are providing them with resources that would benefit their specific situation. Mental health first aid can be extremely individualized and varies from context to context. The next thing we're going to go over is how to register for a training. So I'm going to put the registration link in the chat so you guys have access to it. Also, if you are part of the NAMI mailing list, you will also receive information on that. But here is that form. It brings you to a Google form where you'll be able to fill out your name, phone number, email, emergency contact, some logistics stuff that we need from you to be able to register for the training. If you need any accommodations for the training, please email me ahead of time and we will get that figured out. Registration is required for training attendance. There are a specific number of course materials that I bring with to every training, and so it is crucial that you do register so I know how many snacks, bottled waters, everything to provide, and how many resources to bring. So please make sure that if you do want to attend a training, which I hope you all do, that you are registering and emailing me if you're having any trouble registering or want any additional information. Along with the in-person training is a virtual platform. This is called Connect. So about 2 weeks before the training date, I put everybody's email who's registered for that specific date into Connect. This sends you an invitation link to set up an account. Once you set up an account and I add you to the specific course, you will have access to pre and post training modules. Before you attend the in-person training, it's asked that you complete the pre-training modules. This includes kind of a pre-assessment and an opinions quiz so that you can see how your knowledge develops over time with the training. Afterwards, and once your attendance is set to present and past, you'll have access to post-training modules. This includes an end of training exam and a course evaluation. This virtual platform is also how you'll receive your official certificate. So once you complete all of the necessary modules associated with the training, you'll get a PDF to be able to download your official certificate. Mental health first aid is a nationally recognized certification. And so keeping that certificate either downloaded on your device or if you print it out safe somewhere is very important. And this training is encouraged to be added to any resumes or certifications. Finally, we're going to go over what to expect the day of training or days of training. So I have a variety of times offered either over the course of one day, so that would be 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m., or over the course of 2 days from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. Um, I give breaks about every 90 minutes. This is because the information can be dense. A lot of information is given to you at once. Sometimes the information can be kind of heavy. And so every 90 minutes, I give about 10 to 15 minutes so everybody can take space, take a break, process what's being shown to them, or engage in any self-care activities that they need to. If you're taking the course, if you're taking the training over one day, there is a lunch break given of 45 to 60 minutes. Provided for you at the on the date of the training is a participant processing guide. So this was developed by the National Coalition for Mental Wellbeing in conjunction with the in-person training. It follows along slide by slide with the presentation for the in-person training and gives you the opportunity to take very guided and specific notes to inform your learning and further practices. You're also given an adult mental health first aid manual. This manual has information about all of the topics covered throughout the mental health first aid training. It also lists all of the resources that were used to compile the training itself, and it gives you the opportunity to learn more about any topics that you find particularly interesting. You also receive a community resource guide that was created specifically for Johnson County resources. It provides resources within Johnson County that would aid individuals experiencing mental health or substance use challenges. We also provide snacks and bottled water. What you should be bringing with you to the training, comfortable clothing. There is no pressure to be necessarily formal or professional. The training is long, it can be heavy. And so making sure that you're comfortable, possibly dressing in layers, anything like that, to make sure that you're maintaining your own comfort. Writing utensils so that you can be taking notes in the participant processing guide. And then you are more than welcome to bring with you any other food or drink that you would like to. If you have any allergies, especially severe allergies in which you are not able to be in the same room as any allergens, please let me know and I will relay that information to other participants to make sure that we're keeping everyone safe and making sure that everybody is able to attend and remain in the training as they're able to. So on that note, I now have it open for some questions. So any questions that you have, if you want to put them in the chat or unmute yourself and ask directly, please feel free to do so.
Ella, I have a quick question.
Yeah.
How long does the certificate last? Like, do people need to recertify or take the whole class over?
So it's 3 years from when you take it to when you would need to renew it, so you can take it again or look at recertification processes. They do that because they tend to reform the training from year to year to make sure, or every couple of years to make sure that the statistics that they're using throughout the training are accurate and up to date, and to make sure that they're adjusting for any new information, which is why the certification only lasts for 3 years.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Well, if there are no other questions, thank you guys so much for listening to this presentation. If you think of any questions, please feel free to email me, or email me if you would like any additional information on mental health first aid. But thank you guys very much, and I'm going to pass it back to Mary.
All right. Thank you so much, Bella. That was a wonderful presentation and overview of mental health first aid and how it is helpful to be a mental health first aid responder. So yeah, I encourage everybody to register for Bella's class. She's a wonderful presenter. And just a reminder, mark your calendars, May 10th, there'll be our walk out at Terry Trueblood. I'd like to wish everyone happy holidays, and we'll look forward to seeing you in 2025. Thank you so much.